Now, this is your first album with Derek and Doogie. How did things go in the recording? This feel pretty comfortable with everybody?
It was really cool, man. It was a really great session. I mean, I got my own studio. I actually got two, but the one we put all the keyboards and vocals on, and it was just a great vibe, you know. I had everything like worked out, and then they just came in and they just did a great job. Probably one of the most enjoyable albums ever made.
You could tell, too. I mean, not anything against your last albums. This one really was a return back to form for you, I think. I just really like the sound of this album, and people seem to be picking it up.
Well, Tom was a great guy, too. I mean, Tom Fletcher is really not only a great engineer, but he's a great guy, and you sit in the studio for hours and hours and hours, and you got to have a good vibe in there, No, it was all good, man.
I guess the next question now, I don't know if you guys were planning on it doing this successful over here, but are you going to be touring with these guys at all?
Absolutely. Yes, it's coming up soon.
Now, I'd seen some rumors on the internet of the G3 tour going on in Europe still. Was that all rumors, or is that...
It's nothing confirmed yet, but it's been talked about. I had a lot of fun doing that, so, there's going to be a DVD coming out from the Denver show. We filmed in Denver and recorded in Salt Lake City. So it's going to be a CD and a DVD with different material on both. So it's going to be really cool, It was a great experience. Those guys are great, and, we had a good time, and it was... So it was just a big party, really.
Yngwie, at this point of your career, do you still feel pressure every album to top yourself and keep? What kind of pressure do you put on yourself each album?
Well, basically, I'm actually recording a new one right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm already in the studio. I've been putting down 17 tracks already.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't goof around.
No.
And so basically, here's what I've realized. What is really, truly progress is to not go down.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, not do something that is less good. Then again, it's just like, what is good? It's all a matter of taste, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, exactly.
And,
right.
My taste changes through the years, too. So what I might have thought was great 15 years ago, I might not think is great now, or vice versa. So I'm basically what I'm really striving for is to make the best that I can. And if it's better or if it's worse, well, so be it, because I know I did my best. So I'm going to do the best I can. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's sort of my philosophy, really, where I'm working.
I wanted to get your take on, I grew up with you from day one, and I hear so many of the metal bands out in Europe that are, if they're emulating or basically ripping off your style.
Yeah.
Do you find that a form of flattery, or does that upset you? That
it's a funny thing, because when I started out in Sweden years ago, I created kind of a style that was mixed with Baroque classical music and heavy metal in one. Because hard rock, like let's say Deep Purple, which is one of my favorite bands ever, are basically blues based.
Yes,
they're hard and heavy, like Sabbath and all those bands, and Queen. I love Queen too.
Uh-huh.
And that's all good and fine, But I wanted to go somewhere else with it, and I wanted to use inverted chords, diminished chords, and arpeggios, and pedal notes, and harmonic minor, and Phrygian modes and stuff like this. And because that's what I got from Vivaldi and Bach and Paganini, yeah. And I was basically laughed upon, in Sweden. And then when it came to America, when I was 19 years old, I applied some of those techniques onto a pretty mediocre metal album called Steeler. And it became a very strange combination. And I remember the first time I played in Los Angeles, March 11th, 1983, it was 30 people there. The second time we played, there was a line outside of the Troubadour in Los Angeles. I looked outside the window, I was like, well, what's going on? and all of a sudden, people in America started digging what I was doing, because in America, people don't listen to classical music very much. And so, therefore, people looked at me like I was like from an alien planet or something. And in any event, to make a long story longer, it turned out to be my Rising Force album, which is very neoclassical and da. And a lot of people like that, and now there's a bunch of kids in Europe that is doing the same thing. And I swear to God, man, I think it's much better to do that than they play, bang out like three chords, So
exactly.
it's all good, It's
Sure.
all good.
You know, I have this theory, and people have called me crazy about this too. In the late 80s, early 90s, I've always contended that the record labels and the kids in general got tired of trying to emulate what you guys were doing in the metal scene, and it was becoming more and more difficult. It was taking longer time to practice. I really think the music in general put more money into tearing down your guys' career and building up grunge because it was cost effective. You know, now that may sound a little crazy, but is there any truth to that?
I've been around for a long time, and I remember when the first punk wave came in '77, and I couldn't believe it. I was going like, what the hell is this? Because I like Purple and Rainbow and Queen and stuff like that, bands that could really play. And then Sex Pistols and The Clash and bands like that came out, and they couldn't play. I mean, they had a certain value for what it's worth, you know, but it wasn't for me. And I remember when that happened, and I remember that kind of died out, and then, you know, a couple of years later I was in the States and did what I did when the metal wave came in, you know. And then I remember in the early 90s when the grunge thing came in, I said, wow, deja vu, you know. And the reason for it could be a number of reasons. It could be that the record executives just simply don't want to, they just want to change the tone of something. It's like fashion, you know?
Oh, exactly.
And that's why I never follow trends. I never follow trends because trends are meant to go away. If you're part of the trend, well, you ain't going to last that long. So I've always stood aside from that. I've always gone my own way, you know, and done what I truly believe in, you know, and what I call honest music.
I feel it's almost come full circle again. Like I said, the excessive attack over here. 5 years ago, I would have said there's no way an album of yours would be released over here. But now it's a different story. I'll
tell you one thing that really kind of amazed me was when we did the G3 tour. It was, and that's not even like rock, metal, or nothing. It's just guitar. And it was just so many people turning up every night, full, you know? So, you know, even though it's not on MTV, even though it's not on Rolling Stone, there's a lot of people in this country that love us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good musicianship, you know, and I think that's been lacking for so long that people want to hear it again, so...
I think so, too. Yep. You're probably right about the full circle thing.
Yep. I want to ask you a little bit about technology as far as... I know it's changed the radio business so much. Has it changed the way you write or the way you do things now?
Absolutely not. I'm one of the very, very, very few people around that are not the computer mad. I don't care for it at all. I have 5 computers. I never use them. You know, but I don't make records on computers with a mouse. Some people do, you know. I couldn't do that. I have to have a big console and all the tube outboard gear and stuff like that. No, I'm quite stuck in the old days, really. I'm pretty much purist. My amps and my guitars are very old, and I use only old Marshalls and old Strats. That's it. Mm-hmm. You know, nothing else. I have nothing new, no fancy stuff. It is what it is, you know.
The older stuff just still has that full sound to it. I don't know how to describe it, but
you can never emulate moving a lot of air with a big Marshall stack.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't emulate that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, listen, for instance, the song Stronghold. Listen to the opening riff. That sounds like 1,000 Ferraris taking off. You know?
It does. Yes, it does. Yeah, you can't replicate that on computer. And plus, I think it's made a lot of good players lazy. You know, they know they don't have to do it right. They can, fix it on the computer. So
yeah, they can do time stretch. They can do pitch. I have some of that stuff too. I have some, the editing capabilities on my radar and stuff like that. But I still do it the old-fashioned way. You know.
Well, I wasn't, like I said, I was nervous as hell, man. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. That was very, very cool. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
You got a big fan up here in Fargo.
Very cool.
All right, man. You have a great day, Yngwie.
You too.
Okay, yep, bye now.